So here's what would happen if the Fed lowered interest rates by 3% today. Trump wants Jerome Powell to lower the interest rates immediately by 300 basis points from 4.5% to 1.5% in order to stimulate the economy and lower the interest rates the U.S. pays on its debt. Right now, the U.S. government has a yearly deficit of $1.8 trillion, but it spends roughly $900 billion paying the interest on its debt. So the theory is, if the Fed cuts deep, the government could refinance its debt with a lower interest rate and therefore reduce its deficit massively. However, in practice, it's more difficult for two main reasons. First, even if interest rates are low across the board, the U.S. government needs to find buyers to refinance the $37 trillion of debt, which is going to be difficult, especially when it puts a tariff on every country. Second, the Fed interest rate is actually the overnight interest rate. Even if they bring it to 0%, it will lower the treasuries with a low maturity, like 2 years or less, but won't have as much impact on 10 years or more. We could even see the 30-year treasury rising if the market thinks lowering interest rates is bad long-term. If you want to lower the back end of the curve, you need to do quantitative easing when the Fed buys bonds directly on the market, which is kind of like printing money. But basically, if Trump can convince the market that his strategy will work and the U.S. manages to refinance a big chunk of its debt at much lower interest rates, it could help reduce the deficit and put the country in a better position long-term. On the flip side, cutting rates too much could lead to more inflation and make investors worry that the U.S. is just kicking the can down the road. That could hurt trust in the dollar and make borrowing more expensive in the future. What do you think will happen?